Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and today we're starting on the grinding portion of this Buck Marksman 830. First up is to correct the blade. You can see the Sharpie that I've got on there, and what I've done is I've marked out where the plunge grind ends and just a wee bit ahead of it. And the idea here is I'm going to use this little bit, which is very much like the chainsaw sharpening bits that you can get from Dremel. But this one is diamond coated. You could also use the high-speed carbide cutters and other things. I like these because they're more like grinding, and unlike the chainsaw sharpeners, it's not something that's going to blow up at 10 or 20,000 RPMs and just have little shards of stone all over the place. So anyhow, I'm going to get this set up, and then we're going to grind this thing up and see how it comes out. Alright, as you can see, we've got this thing set up, and this is the Dremel little drill press thing. If I can find the number on it, I'll put it up here on the screen. But what it does is it holds your drill press, or your Dremel, in place in a drill press type thing. You can run it up and down, and you can move the Dremel all over the place. And I always keep a Dremel in one of these because it's just super convenient to have your Dremel in place and be able to move the work around it instead of having to vise up the piece you're working on and trying to freehand the Dremel. It just works better for me. Now, I have taken the blade out, and with the blade out on this buck blade, there's nothing here, no thumb studs or anything, so I can lay it flat. If you have one with thumb studs, you may have to take the thumb studs off, or you may have to raise this piece up and kind of move the piece around by hand, or go the other way and clamp this and move the Dremel. But since this piece is nice and flat, we're going to do it like this. Alright, that got us out in front of our plunge grind, and didn't extend the sharpening choil by very much at all, really. Now, buck knives always have that little kick down at the end of the blade near the heel, and there's still a little bit of that left, but if we were to grind that off, we'd end up taking a whole bunch of the blade away, so we're not going to do that, and that'll be able to be sharpened anyhow. So, we're going to go ahead and tool up for the next thing, and we're going to be changing out tools here, and what we're going to do is we're going to soften the edges right here, because all of those edges are pretty sharp. They're back cut. And what that means is each one of these edges, the top edge here, hangs over the relieved section just a little bit, this lower section here. And what that causes is a knife that just eats up your pants pocket. So we want to fix that as well. And I'm going to retool here, and then we'll... Alright, so what we're going to use to soften those edges is just this little stone. So I can get the light down here on it. And I forget what Dremel number this is, but if you have very many Dremel kits, you'll probably have 2 or 3 dozen of these things. It's just a little conical stone. Now, we will run it at a slower RPM, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. And we do have to get the height on this set, and I'll explain that real quick. There is a lower section here, relieved section, then we have this upper section, and we're just trying to knock the edge off of that upper section where it's back cut just a little bit. So by using the height adjustment on this Dremel press contraption, we want to get this stone just slightly above the recessed section in here, to where all we're doing is as we run it down through here is knock off that sharpened edge, because we're not really trying to reshape the knife or anything. All we want to do is get rid of that kind of sharp edge so that it doesn't mess up our pockets. So anyhow, we're going to go ahead and set the height on that and get moving with it. Okay, what I meant by setting the height right is you have an adjustment, of course, for the height of your Dremel tool. If I can get it to work, there we go. And what I'm going to do, get my hands out of the way so you can see, that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to let this sit down here on one of the lower sections, and then get my hands back here and lift it up just a smidge, because I really don't want to touch that lower section with the tool. I just want to get these edges. So I've done that, and I went a little high, so I'm going to need to try it again. Okay, there we got it. Took a little doing. And I'm going to run this down to about 10,000 RPM, maybe a little bit less, because we don't really want to burn this stuff up or move too fast. And the idea here is just to move this along this edge just enough to get that really sharp part off of there. Shouldn't take a whole lot. And that is all it took. As I say, that little edge, there isn't much there, but we need to make it go away so that this knife doesn't chew up our pants near as bad. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and then I'll be back with you. Alright, there we go. We got both sides softened up some. And now we're going to go out to the big grinder and do a little bit with that lock bar. Alright, our job here is to soften the edges of this lock bar. It gets picked on a whole lot. People think that this is the part that rips up their pockets. I'm not so sure, but since we have the tools, we're going to go ahead and soften the edges of the lock bar right through here where it gets wide anyhow. So we're going to be using the Northridge tool 2x72 grinder. We're all set up here, and we'll get it running and smooth that off some. And there we go, we've smoothed or rounded those off on both sides. Probably not a perfect job, but hey, I think it's going to be effective, and by the time we're done with it, I think it'll look good. So anyhow, we used a 120 grit belt there, and used the slack portion up here to take care of part of it, and then of course used our contact wheel, that's right here, to get a little bit right in this area. So anyhow, guys, that's what we're doing for today. I just wanted to get the sanding done, and then hopefully here very soon we'll get the acid out and we'll start messing with that stuff. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I hope you're enjoying this project, and we're going to be moving ahead with it with the acid and then reassembly, and there may be some other things. I haven't fully decided yet. So Anyhow, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me and watching me play with some tools for a little bit. Maybe give you some ideas on things you can do to the knives that you have if there are things you don't like about them. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.